Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am Leni Cavazos, retreat strategist and host of the show for coaches, entrepreneurs, and transformational leaders who want to design retreats that actually make money. If you've ever put your heart into a retreat only to walk away exhausted or worse, broke, you are not alone. This podcast is here to change that. Each week, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and expert insights to help you create meaningful, transformational retreats that also support your business, your lifestyle, and your bottom line. Let's make your next retreat not just powerful, but profitable. Hello, welcome back to another podcast episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I am your host, Leni Cavazos, and I am so excited to have Christopher Hill with me here today. And he is the founder of luxury philanthropic travel brand Hands Up Holidays and Impact Destinations. He serves his majority of clients in the US from New Zealand, where he lives with his wife, two boys, and dog Sola. So, Christopher, thank you so much for being here today.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Leni.
All right. So we were having a conversation a little bit behind the scenes of what you do and what you bring to the table. And I wanted to talk to everyone who's listening to this episode today that we are bringing a different concept of how a retreat could look like. And we're so excited to share this with you because not everything is meant to be just like your standard retreat that we see out there. There's so many places on how we can personalize the experience for the audience. And basically, what Christopher does is he creates luxury travel with a piece of volunteering into the space. So tell us a little bit about, Christopher, why you wanted to incorporate volunteering into this luxury travel space.
Yeah, well, it all really stems from my own experience. And that happened on a trip I took in South Africa way back in 2002. And on that trip, in addition to going on safari and staying in beautiful luxury lodges and hotels, exploring the wonders of Cape Town and the garden route and so on, I also helped to build a house for a family in one of the townships, slum areas just outside of Cape Town. And this really enriched my life and added sort of additional dimensions to travel for me in two main ways. One, in contrast to all the other travel I'd done, which was quite extensive up to that point, by helping with building this house, I got to engage with the local people. I got to hear their stories. I got to do a deep dive into their lives and share my stories and just engage with them. And then secondly, it felt great to actually give back and make a difference and provide this family with a decent place to live. And so I got thinking, well, I've got learned some good business skills. Why don't I make it easy for others to have similar experiences and do it in a way that I would find more meaningful and fulfilling? I was working in investment banking up to that point. And so that was the idea for me. And really it was a combination of having the model of what I would describe as philanthro volunteering, meaning it's the funds that our clients bring, which is the main benefit that they bring, to enable us to employ local people to do most of the work on a project and also to pay for the materials for a project. And then also really pitched it at the luxury level because in order to attract those funds, wanted to set something up which makes it easy for people and really enables people to give back and volunteer without having to rough it. So to do it at the level that they're accustomed to and bring these two worlds together, which aren't necessarily natural bedfellows, but actually on deeper reflection, there's no reason why not to combine the luxury with giving back, and it's been working really well.
I love this because I do believe, at least, my personal kind of idea sometimes of volunteering means I need to go live in a village for a couple of months, right? And live like them and, maybe not have hot water and maybe, like go through all these things that it's the regular concept that we have of what it means to volunteer, right? So really stepping into the community, staying there, but living a little bit like the locals. But what if, right, there is a possibility of you helping, but then still having a travel that matches your standards, like matches the way you want to travel. So it's also easier for you to say, okay, I don't have to shower with cold water and I can still help people. That isn't that amazing? Right.
Yeah, well, you've nailed it really. And the way I describe it is that there's sort of three main ways that you can make a difference. One is like you describe, if you go for several months, so that's with your time. Your the benefit you bring in that context is your time, and going deep in that destination, and that's fantastic. And there is definitely a place for that. And then secondly is if you've got specific skills, using those. And so that could be, like if you're a doctor, you could go and help use those skills in a village context for a period of
Yeah,
time.
like
And then
Doctors
third,
Without Borders.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we also do facilitate that as well. In some of our medical clinics around the world that we partner with, we can facilitate doctors and nurses or physiotherapists or whatever the case may be to use those
Oh,
skills. And then there's the third way is what I described around using your wealth or your funds to make the difference. And and so that's primarily where we come in that last
okay.
phase or option.
Well, I really like this concept from the space of really understanding that we can help and we get to choose how we help in the best way that we can, right? Because not everyone has the time, right, to go for 3 months to help, and no, not everyone has the skills to go as a specialized volunteer, but it doesn't mean you don't want to help, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
actually get connected with the community, because it's not just about, oh, I'm going to make a donation and that's it. You're actually involved in the process. So you really get to know the people from the town or the city that you're really helping out. I mean, I do remember the slums when I was in South Africa. I was in Cape Town a couple of years ago, and it was shocking to see. Now, I'll tell you also something that was very, very shocking. It was seeing the houses that are, falling apart, and then all the antennas for, cable TV and Mercedes-Benz parked outside. That was
yeah,
interesting to
right.
see for sure.
Yes, yeah, it's very incongruous.
Yes. I mean, I tend to I understand it because of all the different places I've lived in the world throughout my life. But yes, it is on the space of understanding how we can actually help people live a better life, and we get to choose how to do it, and it doesn't need to be in the way that is kind of what we know of. So I think this is so important. And I know you also mentioned that you also try to do the stays and the luxury part of these itineraries from the understanding of eco luxury properties, and also bringing that into the program that you're creating for them.
Yeah, it's really we've taken a what I describe as a sort of holistic approach to the whole itinerary. And so it's not just the volunteering service component that is of benefit. The idea is that the accommodation, the transport, the food options are also make a positive impact on the destination. So in terms of accommodation, yes, we do lead in our recommendations to our clients with eco luxury properties. So these are ones that use sustainable um, materials in their construction, perhaps recycled or reclaimed materials, or they use efficient lighting, or perhaps they may generate their own power from the obvious one is solar. But some are getting more creative with hydroelectricity or wind generated electricity. Obviously, that depends on the location. And then things like we look at what their employment, what percentage of their staff are uh, employed from the local community, and ideally also have local community members on their management team. And even the big ticks is when the local community is involved in the ownership of the property. So we look at that, and then we look at recommending restaurants that source their food locally and use organic ingredients. And then we use local transport options, environmentally friendly options such as EVs where available. And then part of our philosophy is around employing local guides as the guides rather than bringing in guides from overseas to look after our clients.
Oh my God, this is so good. Because what I really see here as a thread in everything that you do is the intentionality.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be in order to create the dream experience for our clients.
Yes. And, we were at the Sellout Retreat Summits at the beginning of October, and we were talking about that. We had a panel of retreat leaders. I was there on the panel, and we were talking about, what happens when everyone wants to fly in their own facilitators when they're doing international retreats. And we're like, well, sometimes you need someone so specialized that, yes, it's okay, right? So let's say that it's a retreat for doctors and they need to get a certain certification. Well, probably the doctor cannot be from the place because of licenses and permits and all this kind of thing. So in that case, it's okay. But why try to bring someone, a facilitator, when you can find someone who's from the area and actually help the local economy? It makes
Yeah,
such a huge difference. And it's just a small shift in your business and how you see it. And you're really bringing back to the community. So for everyone who's listening, I want you to consider everything that Christopher has said so far and ask yourselves, how could I implement some of these pieces, beautiful nuggets of information that Christopher has shared into my retreats? How can I bring back to the community? How can I bring some maybe volunteer or philanthropy into my projects? Because it is so important for us to really take that as part of the considerations when we're putting retreats and we're running our retreats like a business. Now,
Mm.
another thing that I do remember you mentioning before we started was that every time you put one of these trips together is personalized to the family. Tell me a little bit more
Mm.
about that.
Yeah, well, we've when we first launched, we did start out with having fixed dates and fixed itineraries that people could book. So this is back, and we launched in 2006. And yeah, we would get bookings happening, but we'd also, or part of having that structure was having a minimum number of people on, to get to a trip to make it go ahead. And it was a really frustrating thing if we get, say, two or three bookings and the minimum was four, and then have to try and rebook them onto another trip, or worst case, cancel that trip. That's very, very frustrating. And so because of that, struck upon the idea of tailor making every trip. And so even if it's one person, we will create the itinerary for that one person. Yes, the price will be higher if it's just one person traveling, but that's then they've got the option to say yes or no, but we will still run it and create it for them. And so that's our approach now. And really how it works is typically our clients will go into our website and then hit the plan my trip button, and when they do that, they're taken to a page which allows them to select from a checkbox sort of smorgasbord of different options, really. And then from that, each inquiry comes through to me, which I handle personally, and then I get in touch with the client either by phone or by email as per their stated preference, and just work on consulting with them to create the itinerary that best fits what they're looking for.
I think this is so interesting because I would say, I know you mentioned that, they can go build a house or they can go build stoves, and there's different ways on how, they can volunteer their time to help the community. So I see it as such a win to be able to choose how I want to do that, because maybe there's certain things that I might not be very comfortable with, or that I am not that interested. Right? Like, and anyway, everyone gets to choose at the end of the day how they want to help. And having this tailored itineraries ticks a lot of boxes for clients. And I think everyone who's listening to this, again, ask yourselves, how, if I were to run retreats that were tailored for a specific group of people or one person, how would that change my business model, from the sense of, I know you mentioned that, there's different activities like, yes, yoga, Pilates, but also they can have a little bit more of an adventure trip, or they can go do wild water rafting. And for example, I love wild water rafting, right? It's one of my favorite things. I don't get to do it as much as I want or I wish, but I really truly enjoy it, right? It gets me so excited whenever I see an opportunity. I'm like, sign me up. But not everyone is like that, right? There is actually a lot of people who do not enjoy wild water rafting. So if I were to put a retreat that is just this one model that is, one in almost like in a box, just put it in here, and this is either you fit or you don't, I might be losing clients because of the people who do not want to be doing wild water rafting. Or, for example, I can practice yoga, but it's not my thing. I prefer Pilates. So if you give me the option of choosing, then for me, it's just so much easier for my answer to be yes, I do want to go to this, because it feels so personalized to what I want, what I desire, and my needs as well. Also,
Yeah.
considering the dates, right? I get to choose the dates on when I come. And this happens a lot if you're thinking about. So I want to just bring this concept for everyone who's listening here. So many times we're in like the coaching space, we think, or we try to sell mostly to our corporate coaching audience or entrepreneurial audience that has a lot more freedom when it comes to deciding the dates that you want to travel, because you're the owner of your own calendar. But there's such a big market with people who actually have 9 to 5 jobs. They work in banks, they work in, hospitals, they work in different places where they might not have the specific freedom to say, oh, it's happening in these dates, I can get those dates approved, right? Sometimes there's like a longer process. You need to plan your holidays 1 year in advance, all these little nuances that we might not be considering. So if you give me the option to select the dates that actually work for me, right, the dates that maybe are approved by my boss, or that have no conflict with family celebrations or whatnot, it will be again easier for me to say yes.
You got it. Yeah.
Mm. So I think this is such a great business model, Christopher, and I'm so glad that you came to this podcast to really share about this different approach, completely different approach. I don't see a lot of people doing this, and I think it's so important. So, well, first of all, thank you so much for putting it out in the world, for making it an option, for going on that trip to Cape Town, that and the garden route that is absolutely beautiful, and getting inspired to launch this business where you are serving this community that wants this very, very specific thing, right? It's a very niched audience. So thank you so much for putting out there, and then for sharing all your knowledge with all of our listeners in the podcast, because first of all, they can get more ideas and think outside of their box for their business models. And also, it's an opportunity for them to be maybe I want to go and, go on a trip with Christopher, with his company Hands Up Holidays. And of course, everyone, you can, in the show notes, you will have the link to go check out his retreats. So because maybe you want to go to visit him in New Zealand and go do some philanthropy and volunteering with him and all his amazing team of locals that can help you go closer into the space of philanthropy and really giving something back to the community.
Yeah, or maybe as well, if we might be able to partner with some of your listeners and help them run or incorporate a give back component into their retreats.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, so definitely everyone, please make sure you connect with Christopher. This is it's such a pleasure to have had you here, Christopher. Thank you so much for being here. And for everyone who's listening, make sure you sign up for my upcoming masterclass on sold out and profitable retreats. If you really want to treat your retreats like a business and stop treating them like a hobby, so you can actually bring more than 6 figures into your business, so you can keep doing it and you can give back to the community and really move from that state of dreaming of hosting these transformational retreats that are changing people's lives to actually moving it into a business model that fits you. Just like Christopher, all my courses are created to create a model that fits the retreat leader. So this is also important. So you can all find the link again also in the show notes. And thank you so much for listening. Christopher, thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to see all the different pieces that come together and partnerships that can be built from all the amazing listeners that we have in the podcast.
Thanks, Leni. It's been a blast.
Thank you. And I'll see you next week.